Hi, good afternoon. Welcome to the podcast. My name is Dan Klinko. I have an ample amount of experience and years in the field of human resources and talent acquisition. Before the age of 22, I served as interim talent acquisition manager, HR manager. So today, what I'm going to be covering actually is interviewing. In today's job market, everyone could use as much help as they could possibly get. It is a very tough market out there. So what I'm going to be covering is some tricks, tips, advice on how to interview the best and how to follow up with a recruiter after your interview process, and just take you through the entire process. So first things first is applying. When you're applying, you have to make sure that your resume is completely up to date, but also a standout, right? So read through the job description, see exactly what qualifications are required. Just to give you a little bit of advice, not every qualification is necessarily a hill that a company is willing to die on. One example of that actually is a college degree, believe it or not, depending on the role, of course. And what I mean by that is usually if you found a way to break into an industry that you are currently employed in, and you have a few years of experience, you're applying to either an entry or a mid-level position. If you have 2, 3, even 4 years experience, a college degree is not something that's necessarily going to hold you back, but it definitely helps, and I would always recommend everybody to have a degree if they are pursuing certain fields. Once you do get an interview, a phone interview usually is how it would start. Sometimes it goes, maybe a Zoom or Google Meet, but if it's over the phone, make sure you answer it. Make sure you answer your phone whenever you're applying. You want to make sure that when you're looking for jobs, answer every call, keep an eye on your email, be responsive. Once you do meet the recruiter, whether it's on a video conference or a phone call, stay calm. At the end of the day, it's just a conversation, right? You're just looking to see if it's a good fit for you and if you're a good fit for them. But remember, you're always, the one in the driver's seat, so to speak, too. You're also choosing them. When they ask certain questions, there is a methodology behind it. For example, tell me about yourself. I can tell you right now when I'm interviewing, I don't really want to hear about your fun time in college or your sports career, anything like that, unless I necessarily ask about it. It's not that I don't care. It's just not relevant to the position, right? Or to what we're doing. So when you hear that question, and there's, a couple variations of it, but the main one is tell me about yourself. Walk them through your professional history. My name is Dan. I went to X college where I pursued a degree in Y. I graduated in the year of blank. I started my career working at EBC company. My main, responsibilities were XYZ. I then left that company and went to XZY company, so on and so forth. Just, really keep it on objective, right? And from there on, just answer every question with some confidence. Make sure you're clear, concise, and, not too long-winded. The most important thing I could tell you is have some questions prepared at the end of your initial interview. Remember, they're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them too. And that's a huge, huge step that many people forget. They don't realize how important some of these questions could be. Just to preface, I wouldn't ask necessarily, unless it's not made clear in the description on the first initial interview, anything about salary, compensation, benefits, so on and so forth. I'd really, would look to keep those questions more targeted on the position, right? Or the company culture, or how your success would be deemed if you're hypothetically given the job within the first 3 to 6 months. So one of my favorite questions whenever I interview is, Janet, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. Hypothetically, if I'm given this position, 3 to 6 months down the line, how would you determine my success? Keep the amount of questions you ask somewhat short. I would say no more than 2 to 3. And then once the interview is done, make sure to send a thank you note, whether it's through LinkedIn or email. Just thanking the recruiter for their time. It does stand out you'd be surprised, not that many applicants really do that extra step, and it does make a difference. Once you get to the in-person interview stage, if you do, and, I hope you do, if it's an in-person interview, when you go, make sure you shake the interviewer's hand. You don't want to break their hand. Make sure it's firm, but not too firm, and you look them in the eye when you do. It makes a big difference. It shows confidence. I love that whenever I'm interviewing somebody, to stand out. From there on, you want to make sure if there's multiple people in this interview, you're spreading your eye contact. That's a big thing too. You never want to just lock your eyes on one person. What you really want to do is make sure that you're effectively spreading your eye contact when talking to multiple people. So for example, you start with one, and then as you're talking, you organically move it to the next and the next, and make sure you're not just locking on one person. You want to make sure that, you're showing everyone the proper attention, making sure that, everyone is involved in the conversation. And again, at the end of that interview, you definitely want to send a thank you letter, thank you note rather, to all participants. It's definitely a big standout there. And again, ask questions. That's a big thing I could always say. And thank them for their time. My favorite thing to do at the end of interviews, and I always, do very well, in processes, is I would say, hey, Janet, I just want to say, even if I don't necessarily get this role from out offered it, I enjoyed, getting to know you so much. I think you're a very pleasant person, and thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. It really does, set yourself apart from other people. It shows that you're nice, that you're humble, and, that you're a friendly person. 60% of the battle is really a culture fit. A lot of people, qualify, but they may not necessarily fit the company culture, and that, would automatically disqualify a lot of people, right? So just make sure that you're pleasant when you're interviewing. And if anyone else has any questions or needs assistance in any processes, always feel free to reach out to me. I always love to give advice and make sure I can help everyone succeed. Thank you so much.